Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dominic Brooks. I'm the Ombudsman for the Atlantic and Cape May County Superior Court. Meet the Court Live is a summer weekly series of webinars via Zoom to inform the public about a variety of court programs, services, and more. The presentation today will provide general information and feature a question and answer at the end. You may submit general, non-case specific questions at any point via the Q&A function in your Zoom application, and our speakers will address them at the end as long as time permits. This is a Zoom webinar, so your cameras and microphone will not be usable. Also, please note that this series is a product of the Atlantic and Cape May County Vicinage of the Superior Court of New Jersey, and some information may be unique to this vicinage. Be sure to check with your own county vicinage for any information specific to them. Today's presentation will cover our recovery court program and graduation. Today we have subject matter experts Stephanie Barone and Rebecca Super, who are Court Services Supervisor 2s in that program. We hope that you enjoy today's session, and thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. My name is Rebecca Super, and I'll be presenting the first half of today's discussion about recovery court. So today, our training objectives are to develop an understanding of the recovery court program, to learn the roles and responsibilities of our team members, and also to familiarize yourself with recovery court graduation and program outcomes. So we have a mission statement in New Jersey for recovery courts, where the recovery court is to stop the abuse of alcohol and other drugs and related criminal activity. Recovery court programs are a highly effective alternative to incarceration for substance use disordered individuals involved in the criminal justice system. And finally, this level of supervision permits the team to support the recovery process, allowing those that supervise participants to react swiftly to impose appropriate therapeutic sanctions that support participants' recovery process. How do recovery courts work? Well, the prospective recovery court clients come under the court's supervision as early as possible after arrest, but they also can enter the program at other stages in their case. And you might ask, who's eligible for recovery court? Well, New Jersey's recovery courts target substance abusing adults, clients who have undergone a legal review and clinical assessment by recovery court team members. Persons excluded for participation in recovery court include those who have previous convictions or pending charges for a violent offense. Other eligible criteria and exclusions do apply. Mandatory recovery courts. This was a law passed when I was here in recovery court and still am in 2012 to expand the existing voluntary recovery court and compel additional drug offenders into the program. This special probation statute was amended on July 1st, 2013 to require admission to the recovery court program of otherwise eligible offenders, regardless of whether they made a voluntary application. So as of July 2017, all recovery courts in the state of New Jersey are mandatory recovery courts. The clinical screening and assessment. So part of the team members, we have a substance abuse evaluator, and this evaluator conducts an interview of the applicant once the applicant has been deemed eligible for the program. The substance abuse evaluation will include the following: the extent of the applicant's drug and alcohol use, substance use diagnosis of the applicant based on criteria such as substance abuse treatment history, medical and psychological issues, a level of care needed, and relevant psychosocial concerns. This is a nice piece of recovery art from an Atlantic County recovery court participants. We often do encourage those involved to express themselves through art and writing and give incentives for their participation in these programs. So what do we offer? What does Recovery Court offer someone? New Jersey's recovery courts include a multi-phase judicial process coupled with treatment services and intensive probation supervision. So our elements include regular court appearances, frequent random drug testing, detoxification if necessary, residential programs if needed, intensive outpatient programs, relapse prevention, sanctions and incentives, 12-step or self-help groups, individual and group counseling, or it could include community service requirements. Something was relatively new to recovery courts the past 5 or so years is medication assisted treatment. So prior to sentencing, participants can obtain detox and outpatient services at no cost. The utilization of medication assisted treatment, or otherwise known as MAT, during the recovery court program is a clinically driven decision. Participants can enter recovery court on an MAT, remain on an MAT throughout recovery court, and graduation, or can be evaluated and begin the use of an MAT while in recovery court. Expungements. As a participant, and this is very exciting for a lot of people and why they want to be involved in successfully complete and graduate recovery court. If a participant is deemed eligible, their record will be expunged upon graduation from the recovery court program. Expungement is not guaranteed, and not everyone who graduates is eligible for expungement, but the majority of our participants who do complete the program do go on to get that expungement. And here again is another piece of recovery art about overdose awareness from an Atlantic County recovery court participant. And I'm going to turn over to Stephanie for the next couple of slides for little.
Thanks, Becky. My name is Stephanie Barone. I am a court services supervisor in Atlantic County for our recovery court program. And the photo that you're seeing is of our team at our most recent graduation, which includes our judge, the public defender, assistant prosecutor, the recovery court coordinator, team leader, probation supervisors, probation officers, substance abuse evaluators, pre-sentence probation officers, the clerical support staff, and our treatment professionals. Recovery court is unique in that we all work as one giant team. So some examples of the duties of our judge is he stays abreast of current law and best practices, convenes the team for policy and procedure development, ensures that appropriate incentives for program success and sanctions for noncompliance are imposed. He develops rapport with each participant by devoting sufficient time from the bench to interact with participants and address any issues and support recovery efforts. They draw a distinction between proximal and distal behavioral goals. So we have specific public defenders that work with the recovery court team, and our public defenders work with others to resolve legal impediments to client admission. They counsel clients concerning legal and treatment issues during their participation in the program. They perform traditional defense counsel functions with regard to plea and sentencing processes, and they coordinate, oversee, and expedite both case consolidation prior to disposition and the expungement process. On the flip side, we have our prosecutor that works with recovery court. They promote public and community safety concerns, recommend legal eligibility and qualification under statutory and program standards. They participate as a full team member, which includes attending all recovery court participant staffing, recovery court sessions, and operational meetings. The public defenders as well attend all of our staffings and recovery court sessions and meetings. They identify potential recovery court participants and review their legal qualifications for program eligibility. Our coordinator, and each county has their own coordinator. So this is a photo of Sherry, who's the coordinator in Cape May County. They are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the recovery court, lead community mapping efforts, responsible for programmatic, statistical, and budgetary reporting requirements of the recovery court program, ensure that the team participates in regular and ongoing team building to maintain an effective and highly functional team. They're the point person for the judge, probation, treatment providers, and other stakeholders. The coordinators are the glue of recovery court. Our criminal team leader manages the calendar of the recovery court judge, coordinates the screening for mandatory recovery court preliminary eligibility, and reviews related statistical reports from the Office of the Administration of the Courts for accuracy. Examples of responsibilities of our task evaluators. They conduct the initial clinical evaluation of the recovery court participant and determine the initial level of care placement. They conduct drug testing at the time of the initial assessment and as directed by the court later on. And they participate in team staffing meetings and recovery court sessions as well. The responsibility of our treatment professionals, which are outside agencies that are just as much as part of our team as anybody else. They provide treatment utilizing best practice standards for the criminal justice and substance use disorder population. They make regular and as needed clinical updates available to the team on recovery court participants. They encourage, direct, and support recovery court participants to meet their housing, employment, and educational goals and provide written progress reports to the team, and they also attend staffing and court sessions. The role of the probation supervisor: we review and approve case plans, conduct monthly case conferences, and provide guidance. We ensure compliance with random drug testing and that required standards are met, participate in ongoing development of operational policies and procedures for the recovery court program. And this is our recovery court teams in Cape May and Atlantic County. We have Cape May on the left and Atlantic County on the right. And our probation officers. They balance the goals of enforcing the court order and protecting the public and supporting client recovery. They monitor participants' behavior and support change by addressing good and bad target behaviors quickly. They help participants obtain necessary recovery supports and are responsible for overall client case management, case planning, risk assessments, and supervision. They bring relevant client information to the attention to the team. Now I will pass it back over to Becky to go over our risk assessment tool.
Thanks, Stephanie. So we now have something new that we do in probation, overall, not just a recovery court, is use a updated risk assessment tool. So back in the day, then all clients were placed in the same risk level with no risk assessment tool, versus now where we identify which clients are high risk versus low risk. We focus on client risk and need, and we create client-specific case plans for success for recovery court, either track A or track B. So these are some examples of phase advancement criteria for track A. There's 5 phases in track A. As you can see, there's minimum number of days of sobriety. There's a minimum time frame in each phase. And there's specific compliance pinpoints that they work with their officer to advance to the next phase. When you get to the end of phase 5, the recovery court participant will sit down with his or her officer. If they have 2 years minimum in recovery court, 1 year of sobriety defined as 12 months with no positive or dilute drug screens, a minimum of 90 days in phase 5, and compliance with requirement as outlined, then they are eligible to graduate. Very similar, but in track B is for our low risk offenders. We had 4 phases. Again, a minimum of the amount of days that you remain in the phase, the amount of days you have to have being sober, and complying with your probation officer on your plan for success. Same thing to graduate, you need to have 2 years minimum in recovery court, 1 year sobriety, a minimum of 120 days in phase 4 for track B, and compliance with requirement is outlined in phase 4. Some of those requirements that aren't listed on here are things as securing employment, addressing medical and dental needs, housing, completing your treatment plan, and making sure you have a strong recovery court network in the community. So what can we do as a team to assist participants to be successful in their recovery? Well, I think that I know, not just think, but I know all team members collaborate to develop the participants' plan for success. We all have to work together to do that. Everyone plays their part, and as you saw and heard that Stephanie read of how many players are really on that recovery court team that are there to support participants through our program. We all have to realize that sobriety is a journey, and we help them along the way. And what can you do? Language does matter. So say this: a person with substance abuse disorder instead of an addict, junkie, or druggie. Maintain recovery instead of they stayed clean. Is a person living in recovery versus an ex-addict. We have a positive drug test instead of a dirty drug screen. A person was arrested for a drug violation instead of they're a drug offender. And medication is a treatment tool, no longer medication is a crutch. And I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie to talk about graduation for our program.
Thanks. So graduation is obviously the best day. We get to celebrate our recovery court participants and all that they've accomplished on the time in the program. So we have now started doing graduation on a monthly basis. We call it a rolling graduation. So anybody that has successfully completed their term of recovery court or they're getting an early term, they are recognized on a monthly basis by the entire team as well as the judge. We encourage everybody to bring friends and family and anybody with them that's their support network so that we can celebrate them. We also do a large graduation in the month of June in Atlantic County. We celebrate everybody that has graduated the previous year. We have dignitaries there, judges there, and it's just a great day to celebrate how much our graduates have accomplished and looking forward to the future, what they can continue to accomplish. So some of the stats that we have from Recovery Court, 88% of all of our graduates are employed at the time of graduation. $20.78 million in fine payments have been collected from Recovery Court clients. And the lives of over 5,000 minor children were improved by their parents' participation in and graduation from the Recovery Court program. So the most current data reports from the Administrative Office of the Courts are dated April 2024. They state that more than 32,048 clients have entered into New Jersey Adult Recovery Court programs. The statewide rate of retention after 1 year of the program is 79%. And 100% of program clients were prison bound, meaning that they would have been sentenced to a state prison term were it not for the Recovery Court program. Since April 2002, 890 babies were born drug-free from previously addicted participant mothers. Since April of 2002, 244 participant parents have regained custody of their minor children due to their successful participation in the Recovery Court program. And as of April 9th, 2024, there were 4,644 active program clients. So I guess we'll open the floor for any questions that people have regarding Recovery Court, regarding graduation. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Becky. And so if anyone does have any questions, feel free to enter them into the Q&A function that you should see in your Zoom application. We'll give it a moment to see if any questions do pop up. Okay, I don't see anything yet. We'll give it another minute or so before moving on. And then if anyone does have any questions on the next slide, we can field them then. All right, we'll move on to our thank you slide. So I just want to thank everyone for watching today's presentation, and thank you to our subject matter experts on this topic and our Spanish interpreter for translating. Just a reminder, we do have the next presentation coming up at 3:30. We would love to receive feedback on this program. Using the QR code on the screen, you can take a moment to answer a brief survey about today's program. You will receive the link via email as well after this session ends, as well as a flyer for the remaining webinar topics. If you're looking for more information on the series, please contact my office, the Office of the Ombudsman. You can do so at the email address on the screen, and we will respond to you. Thank you all, and this concludes today's first of two